Namaste and welcome to the weekly meeting of Essence of Knowledge program. This program is available for all the seekers on gyanmark.guru for free and it is online. In these meetings, I try to help the participants of the program. We do questions and answers and conduct exams, etc. So, any questions, any problems if you're facing in the program are most welcome. I can see there is already one question by Sheila. So we'll start there. She is asking, should I go over each lesson before submitting my verification? And she is also saying, I have little no doubts left regarding the experiencer, experience and existence. So if there are no doubts, then probably there is no need to go through all the lessons. There is an article on wise words which tells you about proper way to verify the teachings that are given in the program. I'll send a link. But it is best to go through your notes instead of going through all the lectures again. Go through your notes because you must have written down the summary of the teaching, main points, and see which one of them are not obviously true. Which of those points are not very obviously true. And if you find something like this, think about it, check it in your direct experience, check it using logic, and if they are found true, then you can proceed again. So like this, you can finish the verification in one day, probably in 1 or 2 hours. It is very easy. The path of knowledge is like mathematics. If you can verify the basic formula, everything else becomes very obvious. So before that, everybody must agree on the means of knowledge and criteria for truth, because these are important, because these are somewhat subjective. And if there is no agreement there is no need to verify the teachings then. They are all false. So this is called falsification also. Instead of finding what is true, you try to find what is false. If you can find even one thing that is false, the whole teaching is false. Because it is like mathematics. If you are solving a mathematical problem, if in your proof or solution, if one step is wrong, the entire solution is wrong. It is like this. So I'll send you the link which is helpful for verification. Anyhow, the verification is also subjective, which means if you are happy with the teaching and you are not very critical, it satisfies you, then go ahead. There is nothing wrong. Accepting the teachings as true will not cause any kind of harm, because after knowledge, the path demands nothing to be done. You don't need to apply the knowledge here and there. You don't need to do anything. You need to continue your life as it is. That is the recommendation. Unlike some other paths can ask you to do something. That means there will be heavy investment there, time and effort. And before doing that kind of investment, you need to double check whether the path is true or not, whether it is your path or not. Instead of saying true or false, we usually say it is my path or it is not my path, because the same things can be true for other people. It is all subjective. Spirituality is a subjective journey. Still we call it verification, because we always say that do not believe the teachings. You can be a little bit lenient with the verification, but it is recommended to do at least some verification. Do not completely blindly believe everything. It is not good for you. So because the step number 3 has no videos, the step number 3 gives you some 2 or 3 lines of instructions how to verify everything. So I wrote this article and it is linked in the step number 3 itself for everybody. How do I know that you have done verification or not? That becomes very clear during exam. or by seeing the kinds of questions that are being asked, it becomes very obvious whether the person has done any kind of contemplation or not. In verification, the two positions, that everything that is given here is false or many things are false, that means everything is false. And the other position, that everything is true, everything is correct. These two positions are good because some conclusion was reached. But the middle position, where you don't know what it is, you have no idea whether it is true or not, and you are totally confused what is said there, that position is very bad. So my suggestion to you, Shaila, is check whether you are in this middle position. If not, it is done. Either it is yes or it is no. There is no middle thing in the path of knowledge. That probably I don't know these things, but probably I'll know it after 1 year or 2 years, after intense practice of some kind. There is nothing like this here. It is like very precise, mathematics, very logical. And what happens if you come to some kind of teaching which cannot be verified? Then it is good to assume that it is false. Do not take the risk. So I'm giving you an example that suppose you verify that the existence has no beginning and no end. But you cannot verify whether it is infinite or not. Although the program says it is endless, infinite, but you have doubts about that. So it is good to assume that the teaching is false. Although no beginning and no end already implies infinity, but you are not sure, let us say. And if that is the case, that means everything that was said about the existence is false. And since the experience and the experience are nothing but two aspects of the existence, everything that was said about them was also false. And the self-realization is also false. So like this, if one small thing is found false, everything becomes false. But the reverse is not true. If you can find one thing which is true, it does not automatically make everything true. That is the problem. The advantage of verification is that your exam will be smooth. You will not struggle in the exam. Verification means that you know everything now. You know answers to all the questions because you have seen everything as yourself as true. Now, there is no need to prepare for the exam. There is no need to remember anything except probably definitions. They are very important. There is no need to remember conclusions. This makes it very easy to pass the exam. So those who score a good score in the exam, I come to know, I assume that they have verified everything. I assume like this because who knows. So it is very important step in the program, because if verification was not done, that means knowledge did not happen. It was simply heard. Some things were heard. Information was gained and stored. Nothing was learned directly. And even if that person passes the exam, the coming steps will be total failure because they are all based on your direct understanding of the teachings, like awareness practice and purification and so on. And obviously that person will not be able to teach anybody or even to explain small things to anybody. As you proceed through the program, it becomes very obvious how much verification happened. Okay, Aditya is asking, I need to verify the same thing many times. Is it okay? Though every time taken decreases. I think it's okay. It totally depends on the person or the seeker, how many times they want to do it. Once you have done it, probably some doubts remain. You do it again and then do it 3 times. It's perfectly okay. Sometimes you can verify the same teaching from 2 or 3 different perspectives. That means you can find 2 or 3 evidences or many evidences for the same teaching. You can count them as 3 verifications. But if you need to verify everything many times and you are doing it since many days and many weeks, and that means something is wrong. Just like I said, it is like mathematics. If you verify 2 plus 2 is 4 once, it is done. But you can double check. Did I make any mistake in counting? Is 2 plus 2 3 or 4.5? You can check once more. But 2 or 3 times will be enough. So yes, you can verify it as many times as you like to confirm it. Symptom that it is not verified is that things don't add up. There will be doubts, there will be questions. That it is told in the program that the experiencer is like this, it is blissful and so on. But I am suffering every day. You see, did not add up. And then the other chapter says that I am experiencer. And then the other chapter says that I need to do the awareness practice. I am the human here. I am the body mind machine. Which one is true? You see, nothing is adding up here. So you need to verify again and again. And the good news is we have this meeting, weekly meeting. If you are stuck on something, it is best to ask here. It will save your time. Actually, the whole purpose of meeting is only verification. Although we do all kinds of chit chat and off-topic discussions sometimes. But the whole point of me coming here and answering questions is verification. Because I cannot do anything about your awareness practice also. You need to do it yourself. I cannot do anything about purification and so on, you see. Only job that remains is if you have any doubts about the teaching, about the path of knowledge, you can ask it here. That will make verification very fast. And that is why the instructions say that you join the meeting only in step number 3. Meeting, why not 1-to-1? Because sometimes other people ask some questions which can clarify things for you. And it saves time if everybody gathers at one place. I don't need to talk for whole week. I can do it once a week. So everybody should take advantage of meetings. It is okay if you are asking 1 or 2 personal things, or you asking 1 or 2 questions off topic which belong to other paths or science or occult. It is okay once in a while. But main purpose is to help you in verification. Check what is wrong in the teaching. What is not adding up. What is illogical there. And you should think about it for a while. Go through the notes. If needed, go through the lesson audio. And if nothing is understood, you should ask in the meeting. I'll try. Sometimes I also fail to convince. It is perfectly okay. Just because I am saying it is true does not make it true. If some teachings are not verified, the best thing to do is leave the program. There is no point in thinking that it will do any benefit. Best to leave the program. If the core things are not verified, that self-realization did not happen, let us say a person keeps thinking that there is no such thing as experiencer. It is all imaginary, intellectual concept. There is only body. I can see only body or organs in the body. That's all I am. So in that case, it is best to leave the path of knowledge. What is the point then? What is the point in knowing I am Brahman if the basic is totally wrong? So that's why the instruction says that if it is not verified, leave the path. There are other paths where the body is true. It is difficult to believe, but these paths are especially for these people who could not verify teachings of the path of knowledge, or they are unable to do so. Some problem is there. So yes, they start from the body. Nothing wrong. Evolution happens anyway. And there are other alternatives also, that you try some other teacher. You tried joining the ashram directly, some good ashram. While staying on the path, you try some traditional thing, the traditional Advaita Vedant path, Buddhism, whatever you like. That is another alternative. But if the case is so bad that no, the means of knowledge is wrong, the only means of knowledge is this book which is written here, and then it is total waste. Total waste of time to walk on the path. So it all seems very complicated right now when I'm talking like this. But many people have this kind of experience that simply listening makes it true. How is that possible? If you listen very carefully and you go step by step, which our program forces you to do, it is a disciplined program, you will see that listening and verification happens at the same time. For some people, that will be the case because of its very precise nature. The path of knowledge is very precise, and all the means of knowledge are present right here, right now. You don't need to wait for knowledge. You don't even need to wait for the verification. It happens simply. As I was saying some other satsang, that the experts or the pandits of path of knowledge, many times they declare it is all self-evident. You are the experiencer, you are Brahman, you are the whole existence. It is self-evident. Many times they say it. Why is that? It is the reality actually. The truth is self-evident. Otherwise, you cannot really call it true if it is not self-evident. But for ordinary seeker, it is not self-evident. The problem is their lack of training, lack of qualities, and presence of ignorance. Presence of ignorance means presence of different kinds of blind beliefs. So obviously it is not self-evident. And that is why we need a path, very short path, very quick, to demonstrate why it is self-evident. So if it has become self-evident for you, no verification is needed. Verification is needed because I believed something and now the teaching is saying something else. Now I need to verify. That's why it is needed, you see. The more ignorance there is, more verification will be needed. More questions will be there, and more faults will be found in the teachings. If the ignorance is too much, nothing will seem right. It will actually all sound totally false instead of self-evident. That means that mind is completely reversed. Is it complete ignorance? That means it is not ready for any kind of path. What is the tragedy in our world? A lot of people are like this. Majority is like this. Not ready. Aditya is asking, it goes something like this. Why is the experiencer emptiness cannot be seen? Why it is not an object? If it was an object, it would be seen. It is witness of object and the doubt is solved. Yes, perfect. Although we cannot say that it is multiple verification. It is not. It is a sequence. It is observation, direct observation. But if you repeat the same thing again tomorrow, then we'll say yes. Tomorrow again you sit with the experiencer and you find out whether there is emptiness or not. And then you again say, cannot be seen, not an object, etc., etc. That means it is second verification. And on third day also you do this. That means you're verifying it third time. And you can see that it is totally unnecessary. Once was enough, twice. But a sequence of questions cannot be called multiple verification. So yes, it is possible to inspect one teaching from many angles, asking many questions about it. That will become one session of verification. It looks that it is too much effort because hardly takes 1 second to see that there is experiencer, which is existence, isn't it? Not the person. And there is nothing there. It is not an experience. See how much time it took? 1 second. Because you are that. So yes, but a newcomer will try to find. But the expert will say it is self-evident. Because it did not take any time to see that it is devoid of qualities. Now you know why there is this huge gap between an expert or a pandit or a master and a student. Because the student needs to check. But once you have checked it 2-3 times from 2 or 3 angles, you will also say that it was self-evident. Shela is asking, experiencing can be called as truth. No, really. Because when we are talking about experiencing, we are at the level of non-duality. Experiencing is the state of the existence where there are no two. There is no separation between the experience and the experiencer. So the false and the true merge, and nothing is false and nothing is true. Here there is only silence. Experiencing means it is not an activity, it is being. Being, that's all. Simply being. It is at the end. You say it is, and that is the end of all thought, all inquiry, all knowledge. There is only silence. True and false is defined in duality. Why? Because truth is the opposite of false. False is the opposite of true. Good and bad, light and dark, these words are made for duality. So, at the level of duality, where we break the existence, knowingly we break it into two to study its two different aspects, and then you can say that the changing aspect is false, it is not the essence, and the unchanging aspect is the truth, which means essence. On the path of knowledge, the meaning of the word true is unchanging essence. But in experiencing, they are all merged. It is meaningless to call the existence as true or false. However, this statement is true. Which statement? That it is only being. Existence is simply experiencing. Or you can say in more detail that which is experiencing itself in illusory forms. Same thing. It is the essential knowledge. However, the illusory forms are from the point of view of duality, and that which is experiencing is again duality, but they are combined in one to make it non-dual. So true and false, they are applicable in duality only, and it is very useful. You need to find the essence or the unchanging part. Then you must find some criteria for the truth, and it is same as criteria for true nature or essence. Essence is also called true nature, and there is false nature also, which keeps changing. That is also existence. So this statement is true that the existence is like this, but not the existence itself, because then you must find something which is false. Okay, experiencing is true, then what is false? Now this question is meaningless because there is nothing except experiencing. It is the existence only, or you can say it is the condition or state of the existence. There's nothing else. So if there are no two, that means you will never find anything false. So it becomes meaningless to call something as true. So silence simply is. Nothing is true, nothing is false. Aditya is asking, do we have translation for terms used in Hindi to English, as I often listen to satsangs in our Hindi channel? No, I think there is nothing. No project like this. If anybody wants to do it in step number 7 or after the program as a contribution, they're most welcome to do it. However, it is meaningless. It is not useful because you are not supposed to mix languages. Keep the Hindi part in Hindi, English in English. That is best for the seekers. That is why our program forces the person or the seeker to choose one language and stick to it, because it is going to cause a lot of confusion. So there is no one-to-one mapping of words. Even if you find them, the knowledge is same. Knowledge is same, and knowledge is beyond words. The words are simply pointing to what is. They are pointing to what is, or they are destroying the ignorance. That's all they do. Ultimately, the language does not matter. What matters? Do you know or not? That matters. So those who use two languages, no problem at all, but keep them separate, like I do. I am using two languages, so I keep them separate. I do not mix them. Probably that is why there is no such facility to translate one into another. However, if you are sure that some kind of Hindi material will be useful for English speaking people, then those who know the language well, both the languages nicely, they can do the translation work, completely translate the videos or articles into English. That will be beneficial for others. So after a long experience in this field, I have done this kind of strict separation of languages. Sometimes I even don't allow other words from here and there to come into our program. They keep coming, isn't it? People hear them here in other places and they assume that I must have also said the same thing. But no, it causes confusion. It increases ignorance. So that's why your program is so pure, you can say, in itself, that without running here and there for words and meanings and teachers and books, you get the whole knowledge. It is very fast this way. It is very fast. No confusion. Because anyway, the words simply are means to reach the knowledge. So ultimately, they don't matter. But mixing of all the philosophies, all the words, all the languages, all the gurus, all the books, that is a big problem. I came to know through a long experience in this field. However, after your program is done, after you become a master of path of knowledge, then you can handle every kind of language, every book. You will understand each and every teacher, but not before. That is why it is banned. So there are very specific instructions in the program that do not mix languages. Do not write anything which you heard from here and there. Do not include those words. Stick to that which is told. Some improvements are needed in the program because sometimes I use many words for the same thing. There is condition like this. So slowly we have purified the teachings. But still there is some scope of improvement. Sometimes there are too many words for one thing. Or sometimes there are words that have very obvious other meanings in public domain, like awareness. It has some other meaning which is widely accepted. But unfortunately we used it. Now it became a problem. So we'll try to improve a little bit in future. Those who are interested, they can take up the translation work. Purity of language and terminology is needed for fast understanding. Otherwise, it creates all confusion and ignorance. So, Shaila is asking, since silence is said to be the expression of truth, does that mean that word will result in duality? No, the words do not result in duality. All the words, these are pointers to the teachings, whether duality or non-duality or anything in the illusion, in the transactional reality. If you say something about non-duality, it does not mean that it will become duality. It will remain non-duality. Now it will point to something which is in non-duality. You need to find it, to what it is pointing at. The word, if it is spoken about non-duality, what it is pointing to. Usually they are all negative words. Not to, non-dual, not limited, not an object, and so on, you see. Unknowable, like this. They are all negative. That means the words are designed to clean the ignorance. So that's why in the end, silence remains, because what will you speak? Everything was removed. So you become that which you are. Instead of speaking about it, you become that which you are. That is the goal, final goal. The path of knowledge will not give you anything to remember or to think about or to talk about. So if you say, let me write one book on experiencing. No, even one word is a problem there. It will cause ignorance. So the teacher brings the student into silence through negative words, negative knowledge, by destroying what is already stored in the memory. Not even destroying, simply proven wrong. That's all. Whatever is in your memory, the teacher says, is wrong. And you don't need to destroy it, because sometimes it is very useful for day-to-day life. So words help, but they do not cause duality or even non-duality or any kind of knowledge. The knowledge is, you can say, very pure. Next question is, can we consider word as an experience? Yes, it is an experience. Language is an experience. Why? Because you can see it, whether it is written or spoken. Written means through eyes and spoken means through ears. That means it is an experience. Now, in the memory, what it is pointing to is important. That is called the meaning of the word. If a word is spoken, what it is pointing to must be coming from your direct experience. And that direct experience should not be another word. Otherwise, we call it as word knowledge. Some people call it intellectual knowledge. That all he knows is words. This is called that. This is written here. Something is written there. But there's no actual experience. It is like you read a book about sugar without tasting the sugar. So when I say sweet, it must point, this is a word. It is an experience that is happening. You heard it and it went away. That means changing experience, isn't it? But it should point to the direct experience of sweetness. And when it does like this, we say it is knowledge. That means a proper connection has been made. Logical connection has been made in the memory. That will be called knowledge. If it points to another word in the memory, it is a big problem. It is not knowledge. Like it points to something which causes happiness. Now, the person has some connection in the memory, but it is not knowledge. The sweetness is still not known. It is still not known what is sugar. Or it points to a translation of sugar in some other language. Still the sugar is not known. That is why even if you read all the translations, even if you get all the meanings of the word in Hindi or English, you won't get knowledge. For knowledge, you need experience. Third question, there is a saying that the first appeared word. What is this word? That is in Bible. So it is describing the process of creation. Creation is being done by the Creator, God, according to Bible. And first thing that was created was the word. And now you are free to interpret what it is, because everybody will have different opinions about it. So we also have an opinion that it is vibration. That is the most logical thing. In the beginning was the word, which means it was all vibration. In the ancient meaning of the word is sound. And it is not the sound which we hear through ears. It is a vibration. The Sanskrit word will be nad or spandan. So if you interpret it like this, it is very much logical because it is primordial. The vibration is the only thing and it is the first thing, obviously. It comes first. Then and the creation happens through the overlapping and self-organization of vibrations. How does that happen? It is all covered in the video series of Vibronics for those who are interested in how the creation happens. It is very logical if you interpret it like this. But there are other interpretations of Bible. There are many interpretations, as many as you want. And everybody has a different meaning there. So everybody is free to choose any meaning they like. It is all open to interpretation. Aditya is saying, but experience always existed. It never started. Yes, it is a metaphorical way of saying. If somebody asks you, if an ordinary seeker or ordinary person says, what was there in the beginning? Then obviously the teacher has no option but to say, vibration was in the beginning. There was nothing there. It is like a concessional step because the seeker is not mature enough, not advanced enough to directly grasp timelessness. So this much is the starting point, isn't it? In the beginning, there was vibration. Now, what is vibration? There will be next question. Like she is asking, what is this word? What is vibration? Now, the Vibronics describes vibration as non-physical, non-mental change. It is the smallest change. It is the unit of change, which is a binary change. There cannot be smaller change than binary change. Change of two states. That is why it is called vibration, isn't it? Because something is changing, vibrating. Vibration always means something that goes in circles or cycle or up and down like this. That is why it is sound. That is why it is nad. That is why it is word. That is why in occult we say spell, which is the English word for mantra. So spell also means something which was said or written. When the student is new, it is easy for them to grasp this kind of language. But when the vibration is defined as non-physical and non-mental change, that means there is no time there. The change is not happening in time. The time is appearing out of that change. So now more questions can come. How did the vibration appear in the existence? And then we say that it is infinitely potent. There is infinite potential. And the Bible will say omnipotent for that. It is omnipotent, which means the same thing, infinite potential. Or the Shaivism will say Shakti, same thing, energy of the consciousness. People translate it like this. So we say that emptiness does not mean nothingness. It does not mean non-being. It actually means opposite, that there is infinite potential now. And we give this example of a blank canvas. How many pictures can appear on a blank screen or blank canvas? And the answer is infinite. Why? Simply because it is empty. If it were not empty, then there was no chance of anything else appearing there. Or it would be meaningless if something else appeared. So exactly the same thing. Vibration appears out of infinite potential. Since the potential is infinite kinds of vibrations appear and they overlap. They form new vibrations. They self-organize. And the dance, the leela happens. Something appears out of nothing. It is not nothing. It is empty. It still remains empty. It does not become the objects or the experiences or the irreducibles, whatever we call as irreducible. The existence does not become that. It appears like this. It is momentary, isn't it? There is no permanence there. Now you can guess why there is no permanence, why it is impermanence. Because it is all false. It must change. If it becomes permanent, that means it is true. That means the existence has become something. Now it cannot change. Same way, the ocean becomes the waves, but it remains water. It takes the form of waves. So we do not really say that the ocean becomes wave. We say that waves appear on the ocean. They are names and forms. They are impermanent. The truth is water. So now the truth has appeared, so false must appear, which is the wave, the changing aspect. So it never started, and that's why it will never stop. Because the time itself appears as a result of change. And is there really a change? And then the experts will say, no, it appears because there is a memory. Comparison of two memories produce illusion of change. It is all mentioned in your program in Vibronics and Tantra Bodhi in very detail, very much detail. I am just giving you a short answer. Although it never started, although there is no vibration, it is all, you can say, science or theory. Although nothing changes, although the infinite potential will never be known because it is infinite. It is not an object. It is a potential, possibility. It will never be known. Still, we describe the process like this. How did the world appear? Is the answer to how question. But as you know, there is no real process because it never happened. Some seekers are very intelligent. They ask why it must appear. Why can't it simply remain empty? The intellect is still working here. It should not, isn't it? Because there is no answer to why. If you find a cause, that cause will demand its own cause. That cause will demand its own why question. So ultimately, it is beyond intellect. Here, you must accept that whatever appears is like this. It is unknowable. You will come empty-handed if you examine it with 7 questions. You will get negative answers. Why it is unknowable? Why can't I know? There is nothing to know there. It is all emptiness. So it is like this because there is nothing to know. We can know something is itself an ignorance. Somebody can know something fundamentally, that itself is ignorance. It is simply being. It is very difficult to accept. But it is like this. It just is. Aditya is asking, I guess Tantra Bodhi can be helpful for understanding illusion and indeed help on path of knowledge. Is it so? No, actually. If you cannot understand the illusion right now, that it is an illusion and it is how this is how it is, you will not understand in any other place. And no, it is not helping the path of knowledge. It is adding to path of knowledge. It is an extension. Once you understand path of knowledge, the path of knowledge will be helpful in understanding Tantra. It is exactly opposite. Otherwise, what will people do? They will think whatever is told in Tantra Bodhi is also true, is the only truth. Because you see, there is no experiencer there, there is no infinite potential there, nothing. The field of occult or Tantra assumes that the vibration is the truth. It is, you can call it the transactional truth, and then proceeds. Yes, you can get some extra evidence for the illusion or some extra evidence for the existence of the experiencer and so on, but nothing much. It is reverse. You can be successful in Tantra Bodhi only if you have some knowledge, only if you have already verified the teachings. Otherwise, it is harmful because people will assume anything. Why does it come after the path of knowledge program? That is the reason. It is an extension. It is, you can say, extra subject. For those who are interested in knowing the illusion in detail. Actually, not only those who want to know the illusion, they don't want to know it without any purpose. They want to know it so that they can control it or they can use it in some way. Otherwise, there is no point in knowing the illusion, because illusion cannot be known. It is like this today, it will be something else tomorrow. What is known then? Nothing. Knowledge of the illusion is also illusion. So it has a practical utility, not a fundamental thing. However, people have utilized the tantric methods to prove something in the path of knowledge. It is possible, but the path of knowledge itself is complete. Because everything that is needed for knowledge is present right now in our plain experience. It is itself a big miracle which is appearing right now. That is what Tantra Bodhi also says. It is not ordinary, that which is appearing right now. It is complete. It is a miracle and it has all the knowledge. So if it is not understood in any possible way, then the seeker is sent to other paths. It is extremely involved. It is all practical. It is all practice. How much practice? Many years, lifetimes, many lives. So can we say that it is helpful for path of knowledge which takes only 1 hour? Or you can say 20 lessons, 20 hours? No, absolutely not. Just like I said in the beginning, it takes 1 second to verify everything. Then there is silence. So those who cannot do this, they are sent to other paths. Okay, I think this much discussion is good enough for today. If there are more questions, you can ask me in the next meeting. Thank you everybody for attending today's meeting. See you next time. Namaste.